And then a week later she said, are you going to continue skating? And we were a bit superstitious.
Right.
And so we'd say, well, we won't commit to it yet.
Give it another week.
Another week and another week. And after a few months, are you going to, no, we're not sure.
Sure.
And to be honest, I've never agreed to skate with her yet.
Me neither.
Hello and welcome to Separate Bathrooms. We would like to acknowledge the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, the traditional custodians of this land, and pay our respects to the elders both past and present. Hi, sweetheart.
Hello.
I'm Cam Daddo.
I'm Ali Daddo.
You excited?
I'm very, very excited.
Why? Well, we've said this before. We can say it, we can say it, we can say it again. This job that we do in entertainment, it's pretty awesome. We get to do some wonderful things. We meet amazing people, and we've had some unique experiences along the way. Today is one of them. We're all in for something really special. Ice skating legends Jane Torvill and Christopher Dean are with us in the studio.
In person.
Yes.
I know. It was at the Sarajevo Winter Olympics that they made history, completing their gold medal winning performance to Ravel's Bolero at the 1984 Winter Olympics. This was an iconic, heart-stopping performance which had a UK television audience of 24 million and an estimated worldwide audience of hundreds of millions of viewers on the edge of their seats. I was one of them. Oh my God, of course. Yeah. Well, this became one of the greatest sporting moments of the 20th century and set a new standard for world-class figure skating.
So after hanging up their skates and several years out of the public eye, they once again became household names, becoming head judges on Dancing on Ice for 16 series. They've had streets named after them, created documentaries, and chased skating on wild ice for filming, and they're now on their final tour, Our Last Dance. Australia is a special place for Torvill and Dean, with their first professional show being produced back in the 80s.
They've shared a remarkable 50-year partnership. Let's get to know them better, and we'll hear about what they have planned for us Aussies in 2025. Please welcome the incredible Jane and Christopher, known around the world as Torvill and Dean. Hello.
Hi, guys.
Hi.
Welcome to the bathroom.
Also, on the production, they would just call us T&D.
T&D.
Oh, T&D.
Yeah.
I like that. That makes it easier. We'll do that. Well, congratulations on what has been and actually really continues to be an incredible career. Our Last Dance, it says it all, of course. How are you feeling about the impending retirement, of that particular world for you?
It's kind of weird to think that this time next year we will have been retired already, because we're coming out to Australia in June of next year.
Yep.
And
Okay.
after that, we're done, aren't we?
That's it. We may stay. Who knows?
We might just stay here.
Finish the tour and just stay.
Oh, the Aussies will wrap you up and keep you here very easily. I have no doubt about that.
Will you keep skating? Is that something you enjoy doing?
I choreograph a lot for other skaters.
Yeah.
So that may be in my future. But having said that, from our point of view, from skating on a regular basis, because we're always scheduling ourselves for the next event. And right now we're obviously in the throes of getting ready for the tour, which is exciting. We're really excited about what the tour is going to be. And we're excited about going out for the last time. But I'm sure as we get to that final performance, it'll become emotional and sentimental.
Of course.
We've grown up together. We were 15. Well, we knew each other when we were 10 years old.
Yeah.
We started skating together when we were 15 years old. And we've just about spoken to each other every day since then. So I don't think that will change.
No.
That's an incredible partnership. Obviously that outlasted most marriages. That's that's a childhood friendship that you've managed to maintain in such a beautiful way. Why do you think that is? What is it about each of you you've been able to maintain it for this long?
Well, obviously, the skating has always been our passion.
Yeah.
And, we both have the same feelings about skating, and we're always we went through all the competitive years up till 84. But then beyond that, we were excited to continue to skate and be creative. As Chris said, we formed our own skating company down here in Australia. And there were no restrictions. There were no rules of competition or anything. So it was just like an open door, wasn't it? And having won the Olympics, talking of open doors, that opens doors everywhere around the world for you.
Yeah.
I think we transitioned from sports people to entertainers.
Yeah.
And then we went into the area of working with artists like Graham Murphy from Sydney, and then Yo-Yo Ma, the world's famous cellist. So we've just done so many different things, but it's because of that 1 4-minute routine back in 1984 that's given us this longevity.
It's incredible.
Brilliant.
It is incredible. I do want to ask you about the mindset change from moving from sports people to entertainers. But there are other things I want to cover before that we want to get to. Just go back to when you were kids. Do you remember your first impressions of each other?
I just remember seeing Chris at the rink before we skated together, and amongst friends of mine, I called him the blonde prince because he's blonde now, but it was like really white blonde hair as a youngster. And I said, "Oh, the blonde prince is here again."
Can't top that, can I?
That's it. I mean, if the shoe fits, right, you just got to wear that.
The Princess Bride, was that that wasn't a thing yet, was it? The Princess Bride?
No, that was
because I could see why you would be like a Wesley.
Oh, that's true,
right?
actually.
You guys are Princess Buttercup and Wesley, right?
Yeah. Was it immediate, the chemistry on ice when you started dancing at 15 and 16? Is that correct? Together.
Mm-hmm. Well, I was always dancing, and Jane had been in another category of figure skating called pair skating. So at the Nottingham ice rink where we both started skating, she was the queen bee because she was a champion.
I was a British champion
13.
Quite young.
Right.
Mainly because there weren't many pair skating couples
She's
in the
putting
UK.
it down now. There's only 2 of us. So.
There was only 2 in that national
Clearly
championship.
you were brilliant,
and we were,
though.
But then her partner thought that going off to London was the place to be. So he left you
without a
partnerless.
partner. Mm-hmm.
And then the partner that I had the same impression that she wanted to go to London and the big smoke and make it big down there. So we were both without partners. And then the coach at the time just suggested that we try out. And we were 15 years old and quite naive, We back in those days, there's no social media or anything like that.
So thank heavens.
You were still a bit naive at 15 years old. And she put us together, and I remember it was one Thursday morning, wasn't it? And about 6 a.m. in the morning, and nobody else is there. And the Nottingham ice rink is a cold, dark, dank place, and you see the rats scurry as you turn the lights on. So it's that kind
Across
of
the
place.
ice, they get the rats got the skates gone.
Absolutely, they're often chasing them off of the ice. Wow. Anyway, she put us together, and she put us in a dance hold, a waltz hold. And to begin with, we were sort of like really kind of distance apart, but then she like squeezed us together so our hips were against each other. And that was kind of awkward for us. And we were like looking around. And then she said, "I've just got to get something from the dressing room." So she scooted off the ice and left us there. And we hadn't
We didn't move.
We didn't move. We didn't say anything. We were just sort of searching around with our eyes left in the middle of the ice at 6 o'clock in the morning. And finally she came back out about 5 minutes later and said, "Well, you've passed your first test. You're still here."
The idea is that when you're a dance couple, you dance as close together as you can.
Yeah.
And that creates a better line and everything. So that's the reason she pushed our hips together. Because you quite often, couples that are starting out dancing, they do tend to do that.
We say you could drive a bus between
Yeah,
them.
so they want you close together, which was a good lesson right from the beginning.
Yeah.
So you fit.
We fitted. And then a week later she said, "Are you going to continue skating?" And we didn't want to... we were a bit superstitious. Right. And so we thought, we we won't commit to it yet.
Give it another week.
Another week and another week. And after a few months, are you going to... No, we're not sure. And to be honest, I've never agreed to skate with her yet.
Me neither.
Well, maybe for the last
Still
hurrah.
thinking about it.
Actually, you have, because you set up this last tour, so you're kind of going, "Okay, I'll skate with you."
Well, I'll give it just a few more months.
Yeah.
Just a few more months. I don't you think that those partners that that left you and went to London are now sort of, they're probably kicking themselves, but they're probably dining out on that story going, I used to skate with them when I was little.
Yeah,
I got her ready for him.
Yeah, something like that.
It's strange, isn't it? It's that sliding door moments, aren't they?
Yeah.
The left and right, those decisions,
Right,
and so much
absolutely.
fate in your life. But
So true.
and then there's some decisions that you make that are just the right ones.
Yep. Was there someone that inspired you
Yeah.
both to skate? Was there other family members that were skaters?
No, it was just when I was in primary school, I was about sort of 8, 9 years old. The teacher at the time, because we were lucky, we lived in a city in Nottingham
What was
that
your
had an
teacher's
ice rink. I think Mrs. McCarthy.
Well, you owe her
I absolutely do. Well, she decided to organise a trip, after school trip, for the kids in the class, and said, ask your parents' permission, and it costs this much, and we'll go on Friday evening. And it's quite funny now because there's probably a busload of 20 at least children, and she was the only adult. You know how there's always chaperones and all that kind of
Yeah.
health and safety.
Yeah, right.
None of that.
Yeah.
So off we went to the ice rink, went on the ice. We had a group coaching session, and I just loved it. I just loved the feeling of gliding. And I wouldn't say that I was amazing straight away. I had a certain sense of balance. But I was watching other skaters that were doing really good things and much better skaters than me. And I was thinking, I want to do that. I want to be able to spin. I want to be able to jump.
Yeah.
And it went from there. And then the coach at the time suggested that I join a Saturday morning club. And then beyond that, I pestered my parents, please could I have a lesson, an actual lesson? And they agreed to it. And then, of course, I wanted, when you go to the ice rink, you hire skates, and they're usually blue or brown. And I was seeing all these
really crappy.
little girls, these little girls in white skates, and I wanted the white skates.
Yes.
And I said to my parents, please may I have my own skates? And my mum famously said, well, we'll get you a second-hand pair because we don't know how long you're going to keep doing this.
Great.
Spoken
Here I
like a
am.
true parent.
Supposed
Here I am.
How many kids have had that answers? Yeah.
And she was, she certainly ate those words,
Yeah.
considering where you went to.
I'm thinking Nottingham was not a mecca for ice skating.
Well, you'd be surprised because at the time when we were skating, there weren't that many rinks around the country. There were
Okay.
maybe like 8 or 9 rinks, and Nottingham just happened to be one of them. And it had been since the war, or just before the war, I think. And we had a hockey team that was quite popular called the Panthers. And so, yeah, it had a tradition. But when we first started, when we think back at that time, there was at the end of the rink, there was sort of a stage area, and there was the big organ. And the guy that would play the music, and his wife would stand beside him, and she was all made up and everything, and
Pearls.
the hair and pearls, and he'd be playing away, and she'd turn the pages for him.
Amazing.
It was that sort of
how great's that
characters
theatre?
back then. Yeah.
So all the dance music that was generic,
time
it
was
was in a
organ.
dance interval, as they call it. So all the waltzes and foxtrots and everything, it was all played live. By
On a
the
Hammond
organist.
organ sort of thing.
Yeah.
A big old organ, you know.
Yeah.
But before, when we used to take tests, proficiency tests,
Yeah.
and you'd hear the metronome first. Tick, 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 tick. Then the music would come in and go, oh, here we go.
No excuse
So,
to be out of time,
yeah,
really.
It was
Yeah.
when you think back of those days.
All the ice rinks had organs. That was how you got the music in those days.
That's fabulous.
Isn't it
actually.
funny that, like in America, at the baseball, like the World Series is on at the moment, and it's that whole 7th inning stretch. It's still the organ
Yeah.
going
Yeah,
on,
it's a
and the
tradition.
same in a lot of the basketball arenas across
That's
America
right,
as well.
yeah.
It's the organ gets them all pumped up. you
Yeah.
know?
When I doing ballet when I was a little girl, we had a Mrs. Such. I remember she was a hunchback, and she sat
Good posture though.
yeah, like really like a real severe hump. But she was so lovely, and she would just smile at all the little girls dancing.
Oh, she was
but
the pianist.
She was pianist
Yeah.
for us, which I forgot about that. But it was so delightful to have live music in a way. Now
Yeah.
it's all hit the record or hit the iPhone, isn't it? Just
Yeah, absolutely.
play it out. Were you, I know obviously famously you were a policeman while you were skating at the same time. Were you full-time skater or did you have a part-time job as well?
No, I had a full-time job. I worked for an insurance company based in the centre of Nottingham.
We were true amateurs at the time because you couldn't earn any money from sponsorship in any way as an amateur. So we had to have, and also we couldn't afford not to. Our parents couldn't afford to pay for us, so we still had to work. And outside of work, we then fitted the skating in, which was difficult more for Jane because when I was a policeman, I had shift work. So it could be from 6 till 2, 2 till 10, midnight till 8 the next morning. So we fitted skating in around that. And Jane had a regular job, 9 till 5. So whenever I was available, then Jane would have to come to the rink. So you were a zombie in the office sometimes, weren't you?
Definitely.
And I was too, but after a shift, take off one uniform and then put your skates on and back onto the
throw in your
ice.
party clothes, the skating clothes.
Yeah.
That was amazing. I was always thinking, watching the Olympics, and I've always been a fan, I've got to say, of the outfits that the skaters or people wear when you get a chance to do the free skate.
Yeah.
Like you do your classical ones that you have to do, and then you do your free skates or whatever you want to do. Who designed those for you guys? Did you work on those together, or was that your folks?
We actually had a professional designer. He just happened to be involved with skating as well.
He was one of the skating judges.
But he was a designer as well.
But judges don't get paid, so it's like the amateur skaters, so
It's
they have a
completely
proper
different
job
now.
as well.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we used to have people that made Mrs.
Oh gosh.
Anyway, mine was. Oh God. You see how old we got? Getting everybody's damn name now.
I'm there with you.
We had Ron Gunn at one
Ginkgo,
time.
mate, Ginkgo.
But these guys, that's what they did. They were costumers, weren't they?
Yeah.
Mrs.
McGillicuddy.
It's gone. It might come by the end of
It'll
the
come.
Anyway,
interview.
she's this lady that just did amazing work, but eventually she started losing her sight, didn't she? By the time Bolero came
Not
along.
a good thing.
Yeah.
It was sort of a bit feel away around. But we have a story about the costumes because we wanted for Bolero,
Yes.
they ombre'd.
Yes,
You know,
the
they went from
purple.
dark to
Beautiful.
lighter. As the, in the
I was going to say,
costume.
do you remember what you wore? But it was black with purple, like the purple you're wearing today.
Yeah,
almost that
it
colour.
was like an orchid. That was the whole
Yes.
thing. It was sort of deep, rich purple that got
Yeah.
lighter, and then there was these little gold epaulets that we had, was sort of the centre of the orchid. But we wanted it to have sort of a Grecian feel at the same time. But
Yep.
the material that we had to go and source the material, so we'd go down Berwick Street in London.
We go to
which
London
was,
for the day from Nottingham and it was a big outing to go and get the material.
fun.
So you'd go and source the material. How much do you want? And then they cut the designs and fit it and start to shape it. But then when my top was done, it was in the downstairs loo of the costume designers, because they'd every sort of 2 hours or so they'd lift it up an inch.
It
and
was
then
in a
lift it up
bucket
an inch
with the
of
dye. Yeah.
So clever. I love that.
So
Where
it
are
was
the
in the
costumes?
toilets at one point.
Are they in a museum now somewhere?
In the Nottingham Ice Arena, which
Yes.
is on the site of the original Nottingham Ice Rink.
There's a museum now.
It's a huge building now, and they've got a museum part of it, and they've got several of our costumes, including the Bolero.
And then just outside the ice rink there, it's called Bolero Square.
Oh, that's so
Really?
beautiful.
Yeah.
And
We
you've
have a
got
tram named after us as well.
a tram.
Torvill
that-
and Dean tram. James says I'm the back end of the tram.
We get very excited, actually, and my kids do too. Like in Nottingham, if we're there together, if the tram goes by, oh, is it yours, Mum? Is it yours, Mum?
Yeah, of course.
And then sometimes
great is that?
I found myself in a restaurant in Nottingham with the kids once, and I was sitting there, and the tram went by, and I went, "It's the tram!" And I was like, "Oh," I was kind of doing it for them, really.
Are you guys kind of like uncles and aunties to your kids? To you know, is it Uncle
Well,
Christopher?
my kids are in America. So,
Oh, are they?
Yeah, we've
they
not
haven't
seen because your
communicated that
kids are
much.
in America and
Yeah.
so on. Yeah.
You know what kids are like now? They're all about themselves, aren't they? But
Did they go? Did any of the kids take up ice
No.
skating? Nothing
They've
like that?
been. I mean, my kids go. They put seasonal rinks up because I don't live close to an ice rink where I live
Yep.
in the UK, and they put seasonal rinks up at Christmas time.
Yeah.
And almost every year they've gone, and now they go on their own because they're older, so they don't go with mum, and I'm quite happy about that.
Yeah.
But also, we didn't want to force the kids skating and then be in the rink for the last part of our life either, as they
be there at 6
if
in
they
the
were
morning.
successful.
Yeah.
That's true, because that is a full-time job when you get, I mean, the levels that you were skating at. So the of course we have to touch on the most famous
we
performance.
have to.
And but it's not only the most famous ice dancing performance. I feel like it's just, there's so much iconicness, if that's a word, around it, because they almost like bring it out almost every Olympics. They use that as footage. It's in so many historical terms that they talk about the Torvill and Dean Bolero performance. Were you actually training in Nottingham when you did that? Like, did they actually have the organ player playing Bolero for you?
There's a whole process when we started as kids, to where we got to, and just from the music side, that our mentality as we got better, we wanted everything to get better as well. We always wanted to be doing the best we could, whether it was costumes, music, skating. We took everything as wanting it to be at its best. And so musically, as we progressed from the Mac and Mabel that we used to do, which was
an overture.
An overture that we found that was perfect, and it was a silent movie theme that we did. But then we went to Barnum because we wanted to do a circus theme.
Yeah, okay.
And then we met Michael Crawford that helped us with performance and acting. And then he introduced us to the musicians, and the musicians agreed to give their time and record a bespoke, overture of Barnum for us.
They used a different arrangement to their normal overture, so it fitted into the 4 minutes that we allowed.
Because skating used to be, when it used to be 2 reel-to-reels, a reel-to-reel, and you would razor blade music and stick them together. Yeah. Nowadays,
old school
with
editing,
computers and everything, it's
sure.
amazing what you can do. But when we got to Bolero, obviously we couldn't go back from having the music specially played for us. So Bolero, we searched around for a Bolero that was 4 minutes long, and clearly there isn't one, because it's 16 to 18 minutes long, the full orchestral piece. But we wanted the same effect from that small, intimate start to that crescendo that finishes. And so we then approached an arranger, and he sat down and dissected it, and he said, it sounds a simple tune, but it's really complex. And he said, I can only get it down to 4 minutes and 28 seconds. And our limit was either, it should be 4 minutes, but you've got a 10 seconds leeway.
Okay.
So 350 or 410.
Yeah.
And so we thought about it, and then we got the rule book out, and it said that the stopwatch starts when you begin to skate. So we started on our knees, and James Blade touched the ice at 4 minutes 10 seconds.
You can't technically skate until your blade's on the ice. So.
Which was why, I mean, the beginning of it is
so
set
up.
Yeah,
it was so innovative. We'd never seen anything like that before.
Yeah,
that's
and it came out of necessity.
So I mean, again, like you talked about fate earlier on, but like that small little
it worked
because
as Chris said, we wanted to start small and intimate, and because we had to be on our knees and close together, it worked for the storyline anyway.
Totally.
So is that something like Michael Crawford taught you, or said if you want to draw an audience in, start small like that, so you really
the music
get people
suggested that,
in.
but he was very performance oriented. He's very animated when he spoke to you, and when he was present, and when he was talking about Barnum and some of the tricks, he taught us some of the tricks that they did on stage.
Yes.
There's one where you wrap your legs around and go on
Dive
between
onto
the
your
legs
legs.
and come up the other side that they did on the stage, and the effect of mime juggling and stuff like that, which we then were able to incorporate into the routine. But it was all about projection.
Yeah.
He said if you don't believe it, like if you don't believe you're juggling, the audience won't believe it. And it was great advice for us moving forward.
Was he in the audience in Sarajevo when you danced?
No.
We worked with Michael the previous year
When we were doing
on
the Barnum
Barnum,
piece.
which was
Oh,
1993.
Yeah.
So, but he came to the performance there.
Right. Who came up with that finale, that final fling in that Bolero dance, with the sliding that when you threw the... You was,
Yeah.
Well, there's two parts to the Olympics. We did something called the Paso Doble.
oh, Paso Doble, that's the one I'm thinking of.
That's the one that you're thinking
That's
of.
what I'm
No,
thinking.
but I thought you meant lying on the floor.
the
again.
cake.
Well,
Yeah.
you lay on
Yeah.
the floor both times.
Yeah, I did.
Got tossed around a bit.
We looked at matadors.
Yeah.
We looked at because in a Paso Doble, in actual fact, the lady is the cape,
Yes, right.
and not
yes.
necessarily
In the
bull.
ballroom version.
And so, if you watch what we did, she was always draped around me like a cape, or I was holding her
Yeah.
as if she was the cape. And it's always sort of that sweeping gesture to the bull at the end, where you just lay down the cape
Yes.
and say,
That's it.
And
bravado.
again, we had the same costume designer who came up with that great
Right.
idea of the big sleeves that made me look
Look
like a cape.
Yeah.
And it was kind of weird because most of the dance I was like that, so I was cape.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're a good-looking cape, though.
Thank you.
Did you ever just want to skate on your own at that top level, or was it
No.
always in partnership?
No, my stepmother and father, they used to do social dancing. They'd go out and social dance. And right from the beginning, they encouraged me to do dancing. And when I first started, I just wanted to speed around the rink as fast as I could.
Yeah.
And they'd be saying, don't become a speed skater or a hockey skater. Think about dancing. And so I went straight into dance.
Nice.
I do remember when I think the first time I got a pair of skates for Christmas, and I lived out in the countryside, and I couldn't just get into an ice rink. So for the first 2 weeks, I walked around the house in my skates, just wanting to skate, dying to skate. And eventually, when I got to the ice rink, I launched onto the ice, and I think I must have fallen over in excess of 200 times.
Yeah.
So it wasn't sort of a natural thing. Oh, look, I can skate. But I eventually mastered it and fell down less.
Yeah, clearly.
Yeah.
You come to the end of the performance, crowd goes wild. Did you know in that moment you'd clinched the gold? Did you have that sense?
Well, it was ours to lose in the
Yeah.
first place before we started, so there was a lot of pressure in that.
We were
But-
world champions the previous 3
You're
years.
right.
So
Yeah.
the Olympics is...
It's
In
it's the
actual
end
fact,
of a crescendo sort of
yes,
thing. Yeah.
Yeah, so when we'd finished, we just wanted to skate well
Yeah.
because we'd done so many rehearsals in training. We'd run through the whole thing. We'd run through the whole thing during the Olympics when we had our practice sessions. And we thought if we don't skate this well, it will be so unlucky
Yeah.
and unfortunate. And we felt that we couldn't have skated it any better. For us, there weren't any mistakes or anything. So just that in itself was a relief at the end.
Sure.
And then, there was a while before the marks were going to come up. And then when they did, we were still collecting flowers, weren't we? And we kind of looked up because we heard a roar from the crowd. And obviously it was because we got the sixes. And it was
It's one of
great.
those routines, though, that it can be... We were in our bubble,
Yeah.
and so we were just performing it. But when we watched it back, the room was silent.
Yeah.
Which was great.
It wasn't one of those performances where everybody...
You do a trick and they clap. And
Yeah.
we didn't want that anyway, did we?
No,
Yeah.
we wanted to be engaging. and
Yeah.
people were with us as we were skating.
Well, I know you sort of threw it away before, but I was saying when you fit together, but when you two danced together, there was such a synergy between you both that there was no... It was like we were in our bubble watching it.
Yeah.
And to make any noise or that was like, no, shut up. Stop
Yeah.
clapping.
Yeah.
Just watch
Felt
this.
very sacred in a way.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because you
that's a
moved
nice way of
so
putting it.
beautifully
Yeah.
together.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
felt like people were watching something very private. It was
absolutely.
a moment. Yeah.
Absolutely.
How did you stay grounded through that period
think
of
our
such
parents-
adulation?
Tell your mum after you first won the world championship.
Oh, yeah. When I came back from first World Championships in 1981, my parents, I grew up working class background. my parents, they worked their whole lives and everything. Eventually ran a newsagent shop, which for them it was a big deal because it was a business, Anyway, I came back from the World Championships and I said, "Oh, Mum, we won." She obviously knew we won. I said, "Mum, it's great, we won." She said, "Oh, yeah, well, there's always someone better than you, though."
Oh.
And I thought, well, not in this moment in time. Not this week.
They're always grounded.
That'll do it. Boom, boom.
Yeah.
Straight down.
And then I kind of thought about it after because I was like, well, yeah, she's right, because there might be, someone coming up.
But it's that working class thing that also, if you'd have, when you used to borrow some money from your mum for like a £5 or £10 or something like
Probably
that,
2p.
she'd write a little note and tell you, "This is how much you owe me."
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I always had to pay everything back.
Wow.
Yeah. And if I snuck into the sweet shop and took a few sweets out of the jar, I had to put money in the till.
Yeah, right.
Because it had to balance. And
Did you ever have to pay back for the second-hand pair of skates that she bought you?
No, I didn't. No. I got away with that.
Gift.
Yeah, I got away with that one.
You've been known for your creativity, obviously, and pushing the boundaries in ice dancing. Do you remember was there ever a crazy, wild, unconventional idea or performance that you actually never got to perform? Was there something that you wanted to, like, let's do a trampoline in the middle of the ice? Or
I don't think so. I think we've had crazy ideas and we've managed to make them
pull them off.
Work.
Yeah. One of the rewarding things that we did, we made a documentary. And we shot it in Alaska.
Yes, I wanted to ask you about
because most of our time on the ice, it's in a building, a rink. It's manufactured,
contained.
It's frozen. Pipes that are underlining under the ice with Freon going through it, and you spray over it, and it creates ice.
Plus, you got a fence around the outside.
You've got the barrier.
Yeah.
But we went to Alaska and we skated the Bolero on a lake, open, natural lake, and the backdrop wasn't the rink. It was
the mountains, wasn't
a video screen. It was the mountains and all the beautiful pine trees, and it was natural. And there was nobody there. There was not an audience. There was a camera.
Yeah.
And that was so rewarding to be able to.
It was just
go and do that.
Adding that, because we always say that when you skate, you've got this sense of freedom and flying almost, and being able to do it outdoors without any barriers and restrictions. It was, I don't know, it was quite an emotional feeling because it's something we never thought we'd be able to do.
And also, we felt quite small.
Yeah.
Because
it was huge.
Specks like that, and the vastness of the landscape.
Yeah, because there was a drone as well, so you could see from the top, how small we were compared to the lake and everything. So
I wish I could remember his name. There's someone I follow on Instagram. He's Canadian, and he was. He never won a medal or anything in the Olympics, but he was a professional, or is a professional skater. But what he does, all of his Instagram posts is him ice skating, doing the wild ice skating.
A large ball day.
Yes,
he's doing our show.
Oh no!
I was going to say, I was watching you to see if you had any flicker of recognition.
Now you have to come and watch him.
It like makes me want to cry because it's the freedom he has when he skates, and just the way the camera follows him around, and it's just. I think I've sent you a couple of his posts. They are it's just magic.
Well, we've never met him, have we? You've spoken to him, I think, now, but. That's how Chris came across him from the posts.
There you go. Yeah.
So we're excited with some of the cast that we have coming with us.
As well.
Yeah.
Exactly. He does the back. He injured his knee a little bit earlier,
he's
but
back.
I think he's.
You better be back.
Yeah, that's right. But apparently it was the hottest summer in Alaska. Was that right when you were searching for that ice?
Exactly. Yeah, we were. I mean, it had this sort of undercurrent talking about climate change as well, and we flew up onto the
glacier, didn't we?
The glacier, and walked around, but you could see how much it was declining from where it used to be and what it was where it was then. Ice may be gone before we know it.
Well, the first lake that they had identified for us, the crew and everything, when we got to it, it wasn't going to be frozen enough. There's so many inches they need, and obviously.
But we did find
health
one,
and safety.
That's the free. what was the terminology that wild skating.
Yeah, that one.
We had these special blades that were like this long, and we're on one lake, and we just could go for miles and skate.
Never
and
stop,
skate,
never go round
stop.
the corner.
Oh
It's
my
just
gosh.
yeah.
And then we did something unique as well. That Jane, we cut a hole, and I went in a dry suit.
Oh my gosh!
Underneath.
Scuba diving.
Yeah.
And Jane skated above me.
Skated over the top of him,
Yeah.
essentially.
That was brave.
surreal.
Oh,
I like doing some risky things.
Chris is a daredevil.
yeah.
but I'm not.
I would have preferred to be you, Jane.
Yeah,
for
no,
sure.
There was no
So-
way I was
So
going.
tell me, did the dry? I mean, obviously you stay dry, but you still get really cold, though, don't you?
You did get.
Yeah, I mean, they had a little tent and they had a heater in it, but yeah, it was cold.
Yeah.
Well, when we did the actual skate, the final skate, we had a tent because it was in the middle of nowhere, so there was no dressing rooms or anything. We had a tent with heaters in, and we did our warming up, went back into the tent, ran back out again, and then did the performance.
Yeah.
And
Well, several
it was-
times.
Yeah, several times, but it was having that tent there to warm up because it was. I don't know, minus whatever it was, but it was very,
Minus
very
20
cold.
or something
Yeah.
like that, yeah. But it was just an experience
Yeah.
to be able to do something like
Absolutely.
And outside the boundary too is incredible.
absolutely.
It just as you're talking about that, remind me of that movie Papillon with Dustin Hoffman and Steve McQueen. And Steve McQueen's in the prison, and he can only walk 5 steps before he hits the wall.
Yeah.
And then when he finally gets out of his prison cell, he walks 6 and falls over.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Just not used to any more than
he does his
5.
6th step and he
Yeah.
goes. It's like wow. So here you guys are
Yeah.
outside of it, the dimensions of what you're used to be doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're in the open terrain.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Must have been very liberating.
And another funny story from that, when we were going to Fairfax, so we were in Anchorage and we were going up to Fairfax on the train,
Yeah.
and I think it was like a 10-hour train journey.
Yeah, it's a famous train journey that people
that
take
connect
up
the
there.
two. And on the way, we were we were thinking that we'd see ice on the way, and the conductor said, "Well, just stop the train."
So
And he just
let
stopped
me
the
know
train.
when you want to stop.
We got off and we shoveled some ice out of the way, and we did a little skate, and all the passengers sort of was watching. And then we got back on and carried on. And it's one of those trains where people
that live off grid.
off grid will just
come and
wave
stop.
down and the train will stop and they get on.
There's no actual station really until you get to the end.
No, it's surreal.
Wild country.
Amazing. Imagine being a passenger on that train that time. Just
Who are those two idiots?
Exactly.
What are you doing out there, eh?
Really familiar though.
A little skating, eh?
You did another documentary I wanted to ask you about, Ice Rink on the Estate.
Oh yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about that one as well?
That was quite special. It was working with underprivileged children
In
from
Nottingham.
called the St Anne's area, which was actually quite close to the rink. And it was about giving opportunity for kids that would never have the opportunity to have the money and go skating, etc. So we worked with them, and they couldn't skate or anything. And we took them to the rink and we taught them things. Then as a group, we kind of put together a performance that was going to be a one-night performance for all the families and
In an
people on
outdoor
the
rink,
estate.
wasn't it, on the estate? Yeah.
Amazing.
But it's quite interesting that the young kids from the estate were quite feral.
They were. we got I don't know how many the first day came, and there was certain adults that brought them along, and then we said, right, so rehearsal tomorrow is at X time, 10 o'clock in the morning, whatever it was. And only half of them turn up
Yeah.
then. And then the next day you get a different half. And so you don't get everybody at the same time. And
Right.
we were just horrified because having put together many shows, the professionals are there and they're looking at you right on time.
Yeah.
And you say, do this. And I know they can actually skate, but it's just that discipline. And they certainly didn't have that. And, you know, they've never grown up in a normal sort of situation.
Yeah.
There was a lot of problems there. But some of them were really quite endearing,
did
weren't they?
overcome it by the end, and we
We
put
did
on
do a show, yeah.
And it was one of those things actually on the dress rehearsal. And I think it was it in November time? it teemed down with
Oh,
rain.
that's right, yeah. So it ruins the ice and everything.
Chucked down, and we're like, oh no. But then the day of the actual performance,
it was fine.
Put the Zamboni back on it and
get the
Zamboni.
That's right,
going.
yeah.
But I wonder, I mean, that's such a gift for those kids to have had the experience of being both with you and like sort of feeling like they mattered for that time, you know.
And they were given their own skates as well.
Beautiful,
And
beautiful.
we just thought, you know, if two of them carry on skating or, you know,
Absolutely.
even if they didn't enjoy it, they think, well, skating's not for me, but maybe I'll try this. You know?
Yeah, exactly.
But it's all about the experience, isn't it?
The experience. And we, you know, we took some of the kids because we had to go and find money for it. So we went around to local businesses, cap in hand kind of thing.
Yeah,
and
right.
we had made the kids were the ones that were asking for the support. So it showed another side of things of if you're determined to do something, you can make something happen.
Yeah. Action. Question. We all go through crises of confidence, and you guys were held up on a pedestal. How would you deal with those moments during your career and subsequently?
Well, I think one of the times you had an injury.
When we were competing.
And as a moment, a crisis.
Yeah.
And that we were, generally each year you do the European Championships, which is a precursor to the World Championships, because most of the best skaters are European and Russian. And this was 1983. And 1983 was the pre-year before the Olympics. And so 1983 was a big year. So it was important to win the World Championships going into the following year for the Olympics. And the European Championships, we had a big fall, didn't we?
Yeah, we were training the Barnum routine and we fell. And I ended up fracturing my shoulder blade. And so we literally had to pull out the European Championships. And for us, that's the first time we'd had to miss a big competition. We'd done all our British Championships, European Worlds. And as Chris said, it was the year before the Olympic year. So
and it was letting
quite...
our competitors in a way.
Someone else was going to win that Europeans. It wasn't going to be us, for sure.
So coming back from that, we had about 7 or 8 weeks before the World Championships. And so we just, you know, we had to get over the injury. You can't make the injury better overnight. It's a fracture. So we had to come to terms with that.
Yeah.
And then when it was time to get back on the ice, the process of getting back was emotional and difficult. But as a team, I think you have to come together and work together and understand each other, what we need to do. And we realised that we had to be possibly bigger and better, do more
than ever
when we went to the World Championships some 8 weeks later, to say to everybody, we're still here.
Yeah.
We're still can
I
do
still
it.
had lots of tape on my shoulder blade, but we always made sure it was hidden. So whenever the doctor did it, it was in private, like in my room or something, not in the dressing room, in the changing room. So it was, because a shoulder injury like that, if you fracture your shoulder blade, you can't put it in plaster, you can't do anything. It just has to heal, and there's not a lot of blood supply to that area. So I had to be really, really careful not to put it back by training too much or doing too much with it at first. But as Chris said, you know, we had an extra several weeks of training. I remember we couldn't bear to watch the European Championships on the television. No, we couldn't, because it was emotional for us. Like, we should be there.
Yeah.
But having said that, when we did get ready, go to the World Championships, we felt more than trained, more than ready, because we'd had those extra weeks.
I think those moments of crisis, it actually makes you even more determined
and stronger.
Sure.
To want to be, if you've got the passion and the desire.
I think it's so brave as well. I mean, particularly for you, Jane, you know, the amount that you're being thrown about, tossed about. I mean, I know it takes bravery to do that as well for the man, 'cause you've got like literally the woman's hands, you know, life in the hands.
Yeah, well,
But
Chris
just to
dropped
get
her and she
back-
broke her shoulder. That's what we've just been talking about in the last 3 minutes. It was all his fault.
But having said that, Jane has broken my nose.
I've landed on top
She's
of him a few
put
times.
a blade through my hand.
Oh, that'll do it. Yeah.
Squashed a disc.
Oh,
So I interrupted your question.
no, I was just saying it's like there's so much bravery that has to be
Yeah.
involved, and then to get back on the ice after, and do that same routine again when there's
Because
been
it
an
hurts
injury.
when you fall on ice. And if you're going at speed that you two are, yeah.
Oh yeah. How would you both like to be remembered in the world of figure skating?
Well, just be remembered that.
Yeah.
Yeah, just being, like you said, when you think of figure skating, certainly here in Australia, most people go, "Oh, Torvill and Dean."
They do.
And so it's the memory of.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that's sort of our legacy.
Yeah. And that the memory has not dimmed as well. Like it's
Oh,
just,
thank you.
yeah, it's very, very vivid for all of us who got to see it, and, and in ensuing years as well. So
I brought this up the other day on the golf course with my mates. I said, we're interviewing Torvill and Dean on our podcast next week. Anyone got questions? I can't ask you any of the questions that those guys came up with, but they all were like, "That's amazing. Oh, they're unreal. That was so good." Can you just tell us what's happening in 2025? Tell us just a bit more about the tour and what we can expect.
Well, we want to celebrate our career, and this is our last dance. So we want to tell the story that, about our life and how we got to where we are, starting from, as kids when we started out, winning our first our European Championships with Mac and Mabel, which was quite a departure from the routines we'd been doing before, and the progression there. And because we've got a company of amazing professional skaters with us, like for instance, Mac and Mabel is based around the silent movie theme. So we're expanding that from the 4-minute routine to a big
Everybody
production
out there, production
of,
number.
of
how
different
fabulous.
And out of
aspects
that comes our number. So
Yeah.
it's sort of a down memory lane for us. And
Yeah.
there'll be audio, visual stuff. We'll be chatting on the ice as well as skating. So it's an evening with our story.
Yeah.
But we're being accompanied by some amazing skaters.
Yes, clearly. And so many of your shows are already sold out. I know there are tickets available to some, but already, that's how much we love you. We're already like, I'm getting tickets to this one. So,
We hope so.
yeah,
Okay, so how old were you I don't need to know the details. In 1984, you're in your mid-20s?
Yeah.
Okay, so we do the math
26.
now. As a
Oh, here we
question for you
go.
now, I'm not doing the math, but I'm just going.
We've got a bus pass, don't worry.
Physically, right? You've got what supplements are you taking? I mean, what do you do to stay supple and strong?
You just have to keep working. We're
doing it.
We're in the gym.
Yeah.
We keep skating.
Okay.
You watch what you eat. And I think it's the continuity that we just have kept skating.
Okay.
yeah.
We're in the ice rink all the time. Cold ice rinks are not so bad for
Look
your
after your
complexion.
skin better,
Yeah.
Because you look amazing.
Thank you.
There's been a lot
Where's
of
your
time
dog?
inside.
This is, Separate Bathrooms is a relationship podcast, and we love to ask just a question to end the show with. Could you describe each other in one word?
Oh.
Silence.
Hello, darkness, my old
I don't know about one word, but 3. I've got 3.
Three's okay.
My best friend.
See, I knew he was going to say that. That was mine. That was going to be mine.
Oh, that's so beautiful. Oh my gosh, that is just gorgeous. Thank you so much for your time. We just wish you all the best with the tour. I know
Thank
it's
you.
going to be amazing, but it's just been a real honor to get to speak with you both. Thank you.
Lovely speaking with you too. Thank you.
Thank you. That was
I
great.
know. I know.
They've left the bathroom and we're both looking at each other going, wow.
I mean, we've spoken to we've spoken to many, many wonderful people and couples. I think they're the biggest celebrities. I would call them celebrities that we've ever spoken to, but in a way that just is so interwoven into the fabric of my childhood. And
Yeah.
I mean, you know how much, you love the Olympics and I love the Olympics too. And the ice dancing is always one of my favorite things to watch. I can't remember a single other routine that any other couple have ever done,
Yeah.
though I've watched
Yeah.
it every 4 years.
Yeah.
But see, one that I just stands out the best.
Yeah, well, to me, they blended. The
Yeah.
Bolero one blended into the Paso Doble one,
Yeah.
the Cape. Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's my memory going, that's a blend. But you're right. I don't remember any other ice performance other than, I'm going to say those two, because they're both so iconic.
Yeah.
And he was, he still is. He's such a wonderful man. And just, I mean, tell our listener what you said just before about him, just when they walked out.
He's just such a very warm person. I mean, they're both so lovely.
Yeah.
He's just has a real warmth of care that you could tell.
Yeah, and I was thinking about that when you said that here he is, he's supported her and lifted her up and kept her safe.
Yeah.
All that time, like traveling at that speed and doing all those things, and the trust that she had to place in him.
Bravery she had.
Totally brave. And that she had to be on point as well, because if she wasn't at the place where she was meant to be, she'd be on her ass, you know?
Yeah.
And I imagine that happened a lot in practice.
Well, she broke his nose, apparently, as she said a couple of times.
We didn't quite get into how she broke his nose. You dropped me, you bastard.
Yeah.
But no, they were just so lovely. And as you say, they're icons of a time that they're seared into many of our memories, because it was so innovative and beautiful.
So beautiful.
And I say that again, how they fit and how they just went around and they just fit together and moved together. It was like, that was art.
Yeah, it was movable art. There you go. Well, we're gushing, clearly.
Yeah.
So we so hope you loved the episode as much as we did. Remember, you can get your tickets for the tour, Our Last Dance. Go see them.
June 2020. It'll be the winter of 2025 here in Australia. Heating up winter with Torvill and Dean. T&D.
You won't get to see them again, so this is it. Get your tickets.
Yeah, they're not doing Elton John. They're not doing, they're not doing a Sting.
Coming back.
Fonzie.
No.
Well, hopefully we'll see Fonzie come back. But yeah. Thanks for listening. Thanks for being with us.
Bye.